Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. It is Thursday, and yes, it is the Three Amigos, and I've just created a topic that I haven't even thought about. So, of course, I'm going to ask Matt and Dion to answer first, which gives me time to think about it. So how you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great. Super excited to be here for number 3. The other 2 are quite fun and a lot of data.
Yeah. And
A
Dion,
lot of inside baseball there too. There's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that we talked about that was like
Subtle.
what we're going through in our market, what we're seeing from agents and wholesalers, and definitely a good watch.
Absolutely. And Dion, how are you?
Howdy, I'm doing great. Ready for round 3, and I like surprise topics.
Awesome. Well, then you get to go first. Why not? So what I want to do about here, and again, I have not thought about this at all, is all three of us, we have our opinions on what's happening today. We have views of the future. And I just want to ask, what kind of surprises could happen that would just totally blow up your expectations, positive or negative, going forward. So what's one surprise? And we'll just do one at a time. Maybe we'll go around 2 or 3 times.
Well, I want to say surprise, but it's what I expect.
Okay.
I expect rates to go up a lot.
Define a lot.
Another 1.5.
And we're talking 30-year
50,
mortgage?
within 4 months.
So for people watching this, what will the 30-year rate on a mortgage be, you think?
Over 6%.
In 4 months.
In 4 months. And I don't think it's going to have the impact that people expect.
Ooh.
I think prices will continue to go up. Transactions will go down. You're 100% right on that. But when the prices continue to go up and people realize that that's not going to impact inflation the way they expected, we'll see rates come down. That's the surprise.
So let me repeat that. So rates are going to shoot up faster than anyone expects, including myself. We'll be at 6% by, let's call it October. Then prices continue to rage, and then you think rates go down?
When they realize that increased interest rates don't make prices come down.
Okay. Then they'll lower rates.
Then they're going to lower it because they're going to say, first-time home buyers have been priced out. That's who we're trying to help. So we need to lower rates to get them back into the game.
Okay. All right. That would be a surprise. Okay. Very cool. And Matt, what's your first one?
So this is also one that I expect,
Oh, geez.
but hope doesn't happen.
Okay.
I think the twist on Dion's, he's almost all right.
Okay.
So what will happen is exactly what he said, which is rates are going to continue to go up. I think that they are going to be, I've been calling it since the dawn of time, since January 1st, we were talking about it. It's absolutely going to be 4s by June, if not higher. And by the end of the year, we're talking a 5 handle. And then by 23, a 6 for sure.
Okay.
Now it might be faster. That being said, I think Dion's dead on with rates will continue to rise. I don't know the velocity by which they will continue to rise, but what I do believe will happen is they're then not going to lower them because they're having trouble getting first-time home buyers. They're going to give first-time home buyers the sexiest of sexiest programs. It's going to be disgusting. You're going to wish that you hadn't bought before because it's going to be something completely gross. It's going to be like, if you haven't bought anything in 3 years, you're a first-time home buyer. Okay, whatever. That's not really true, but that's their rule. Then the next rule is going to be, we are going to completely fund your down payment and your closing costs. We're going to fund that for you. We're going to give you a 40-year mortgage because we really need you in that house so badly. And the only thing that you're going to have to do is qualify with like above a 640. Like it's going to be a bad loan program for the country. It will be bad for a lot of those people that sign on to it because they want the American dream of owning a home. But that's what I believe will happen. I believe that they will create this unbelievably disgusting program that will put people in homes that they shouldn't be in by any stretch, but they're not going to do something nasty that it's like a 2 and 28 where it's in 2 years it resets. They're going to do something that's going to be more like a 723. Or a 10 or a 1030.
Okay. All right. Wow. I kind of had some PTSD there for a minute. So my first surprise is actually in multifamily. And I brought this up with Jonathan today. The video posts, I think it posts tomorrow. I actually think national rent on apartments is going to be negative. Probably not this year maybe not
Okay.
next year, but 2024. I think there's too much building. I think we have, I think the economy is far weaker.
Yeah.
I still remember my parents deciding whether to pay the mortgage / rent or food. Let me just promise you, food always wins. Because eviction, takes time. You can buy basically, oh, great, we don't pay the mortgage, we're going to live here for free for 10 months. That's a real thing. Strategic
Yeah.
defaults is a real thing. I think the
Sure.
economy is far weaker. I think a lot of this rent growth, like Tampa, like 30% up. I talked about this morning, New York, 28%. I think there's a lot of rent growth that's not good. So I think I told Jonathan that I thought multifamily was operating today like they had a royal flush, like they couldn't do anything, like nothing could beat them. Cheap rates, rising rents, all of these things. And I'm like, dude, you're going to have a 2.7 and 2.7 offsuit in like 3 years, which is the worst starting hand in poker. And I really think there's going to be a lot of wealth destruction in 2 to 5 years in multifamily, not houses so much. Cause again, there's the supply problem is just not there, but yeah, my biggest surprise is I actually see negative rent growth in apartments. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think there could be a royal flush, just a different version.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I think it's going to get nasty. I think the other piece to that too is I think a lot of those places go boom. I think that Wall Street knows that. They're keeping trillions dry to be able to literally buy up portfolios. I don't hope that it happens to Grant Cardone. I don't. I think he's funny.
Yeah.
I think he's fun. He's entertaining.
Yeah.
But he's closing in on like 7 billion worth of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you work something out with him when you have Wall Street there and going, yeah, we'll buy the portfolio, we'll buy it at this fraction of price, and he can't create that money. So then that's something that ends up selling in a big chunk. So I definitely see that coming. And then that puts pressure on the other, quality of product and all that stuff changes greatly. And they'll remember when the government didn't own it and there was a better operator in there. That's a lot of times what kills those places is everyone stops going because the operator is no longer the operator and the place is now junk and nothing maintained. And, it's a pool full of, pee and Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, Dion, we'll do one more.
So the next big surprise is one that I think would be a surprise, but it's possible. We have an administration that's pushing for things like taxing unrealized capital gains.
Yes.
And then everybody freaks out and says, why would we do that? Well, wait till you meet property taxes. I think we're going to see an administration that pushes for nationwide rent control. I think that's going to be the thing that could be a surprise that I don't know that it would affect single family. And it's definitely not going to impact probably house hacking, but it could hit small multifamily and it's definitely going to hit, I think, apartments.
Absolutely. Yeah. That would be a surprise, but yeah, it would not be a shocking one. I think that's a pretty good one. All right, Matt, what about you?
Thank God I just went shopping for pitchforks. I'll be ready.
Yeah,
that would be, so we have seen rent control and we've seen it in states around me. And so I think that I love that one from Dion. I hope he's so wrong. I hope, but yeah, always scared. I think the other big thing that we will see is I think we are going to see an absolute, do I want to call it a crash? It's between a correction and a crash for commodities that go into homes. Yeah, I think there's going to be a major adjustment there. There's already been some major adjustments. I saw my lumber bill for the last buy that we had. We used to 2 years ago, we paid $248 for a 2x8x8 stud.
Yep.
On my last order 90 days ago, it was that same stud that was $2.48 was $9.70. And I think that we're starting to see the lumber price per thousand drastically correct, because I think a lot of builders out there are just saying whipsaw effect. I don't need 17 truckloads of lumber sitting on site anymore. I've got enough to do the next 10. or 12. What I really need is I need more cash. So I'm going to let that stuff sit there for a bit. I'm not going to buy any for a little while. So I think there's going to be a significant correction in lumber. I think when that significant correction happens, well, now you're not talking about $10 studs that used to cost $250 anymore. I think you're probably talking about $4 studs, $354.
Okay.
And so what I think that ends up happening is that piece right there will actually spurn some growth from, guys kind of our size, where we'll actually do rehabs and things like that for stuff that really makes sense. And so I see the cost of additions. I see the cost of rehabs. I see our costs going down significantly in the next, kind of probably June to June. So probably the next, 15 months.
So my next one, and we'll do one more round. So if you guys want to think about your last one, my second one is, I believe I will get 30-year money on a residential loan next year. It will have a 7 on it.
Ooh.
Yeah, it'll be a great deal. It'll produce the kind of yield I want, but I suspect sometime in 2023, I will only be able to get 30-year money with something with a 7 on it. Yeah.
That would suck. I mean, it would suck and be awesome all at the same time, like we've talked about, because it's just like, if you're at 7, then, Joe Blow is that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's what gets
Yeah.
price deterioration. That's where you get that, 10 to 20% drop.
Yeah. Again, and just so everybody realizes, I've done loans with 7s on them before. In fact, I think 6 of my first 8 had 7s on them.
I did one with a 10 on it.
Yeah.
Not hard money.
Not hard. Yeah. All right, Dion, one more.
I think the strength of the cash buyer is going to have a big impact, and people are going to be looking for people are going to look for creative ways to have cash. So creative, hard money, not financing as much. They talked about this on Bigger Pockets the other day, where as interest rates go up, you want to leverage less. Like a larger down payment makes more sense. So I think that's going to be the shift that we see, is more cash buyers. And I don't know that that's more attractive to the sellers as far as like offering more or whatever. I think
certainty of close is what's important.
Certainty of close, right? So I think most investors are going to try to figure out ways to not play with so much leverage.
Okay, I like that. Final one, Matt?
I would say my final one is I am going to get worse tenants. I think I'm going to get worse tenants. Oh, crap.
Been there.
Yeah, right. So we use an example of what we talked about. I think it was last week when we talked about the fact that, somebody was like, well, you took a 630 person. What'd you expect? It's like, dude, I had 10 people. 630 was by far the best. The other ones were in the 5s because they were getting approved for homes. Exactly. And so I think, sadly, with first-time homebuyer programs, DTIs, 10 and 30s, all of this stuff that's going to happen, I think that just leads to me getting worse tenants.
So my final,
speaking.
Yeah. So my final one's, I think the great myth of the cash buyer blows up. I suspect, when people say cash buyer, people usually think they're writing a check out of their account. I think the cash buyer has been greatly exaggerated because of the flexibility in non-QM and other kinds of funding sources. I suspect that we see a 50% drop in cash buyers. I think iBuyers disappear. I don't think there's a single large iBuyer at the end of next year. I think the few that are left are holding on by their fingernails and still losing money. I think they all go away. I think that's been a lot of this. So yeah, I think the cash buyers, I think it's always been fake. I could write a check for a lot of stuff I bought and I still write cash and I still close with a loan. I think that all goes away. I don't think there's as much cash out there. And certainly if the economy gets weak, people are going to be less likely to use their cash. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun the next couple of years. But yeah, I think they all these cash buyers. I think it's a myth. I don't think there's as many people think. So very cool. So Dion, how can people find you?
Right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, and my live streams are Tuesday afternoons, 4 p.m.
Awesome. And Matt?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube, on Instagram, and 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time live streams.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Sunday.